Kayla Fader began her Aikido journey in 1973. She was 9 years old at the time and has trained continuously for the past 44 years. She studied directly under Morihiro Saito, an apprentice of Morihei Ueshiba, the founder of Aikido, and she also trained with several other Shihan who trained directly under O-sensei. Kayla Fader received her rank of 6th Dan in 2004, and she is currently the chief instructor and owner at Aikido of Berkeley in Berkeley, California. She'll be participating in the upcoming Aikido at the Leading Edge, a free online telesummit happening May 12th through 21st. Big free event. Should be lots of fun. Be sure to register for that for free at the link in the description of this video. Kayla Fader is with me now. Kayla Sensei, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, Edgar.
I know you're pretty busy, so we'll squeeze in this interview real quick.
Okay, that sounds great.
All right, so now we got a sampling of your early training history in that introduction, your beginnings in Aikido, but go ahead and talk about your beginnings. How did you end up getting into Aikido, and what was it like training in Japan under Morihei Saito Sensei?
Oh, okay. Those are nice questions. Well, I was very athletic as a kid, and I spent about 6 months searching for something to do after school. I started playing the violin around the same time I started Aikido, and I loved it. I loved my music practice, but I felt like there was something else I wanted to do. I was playing with friends, and I remember telling my mom I want to do something else, but I don't know what yet.
Yeah, you're literally playing. You're 9 years old, right?
Yeah, so I had a friend in was it 3rd or 4th grade, and she was doing Aikido, and she invited me to come and watch a class, and I just kind of fell in love with it the moment I saw it. And I still remember racing home to my mom and telling her all about it and telling her that I had to do it and I had to start and I had to do this thing immediately. And I was really extremely fortunate because my mom was really dedicated to both my sister and I in supporting whatever we felt passionate about. So she both of my parents were just extremely supportive of me, and she signed me up right away, and I never stopped.
This was in the U.S.?
What's that?
This was in the United States?
Yeah, this was in the United States when I started in the children's classes in Oakland. And I just loved it. I remember how much I loved going. And I remember friends saying, so can we play after school today? And I'd say, nope, I have Aikido. And they'd say, again? Yep, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every week. And it's just one of those kids who, once I decided to do it, I just kept up with it. And I remember I only missed a few classes when I was sick or if we were on vacation, but I was really in love with it. And then Iwama was on my horizon because my original teacher was a student of Saito Sensei, and Saito Sensei was in the States often. So I met him, I think I was 13 when I met him, because I went into the adults classes at 13. I begged my teacher to let me come into the adults practice, and then I was just even more in love with Aikido. So I started in the adults program, and I got to go to my first Saito Sensei seminar, and then decided that the first thing I wanted to do when I graduated high school was go to Iwama to be an uchideshi. And in 1979, it was quite an experience to be such a young person, but also a woman in Japan. My father went with me and dropped me. We traveled together for a while, and then he dropped me off at the dojo, and I stayed for 3 months, and it was fantastic, and it was also grueling, as any other person knows who's been an uchideshi, especially in Japan.
Right.
There's a very traditional program.
For those who don't know, that's a live-in student there.
That's right. Uchi, so like if the word, a lot of Aikidoists will probably be familiar with the word uchi mowari and soto mowari when we talk about kaitenage. Soto means outside and uchi means inside. So an uchi deshi just means inside student, and soto deshi means outside student. So it was amazing, and I learned a lot, not just about Aikido and my training, but also as a 16-year-old, kind of going through the hardship of getting up every morning, whether I wanted to or not. We trained early every morning and every evening, but then during the day, some of the uchideshi had day jobs, and I didn't. I saved my money and stayed in the dojo, stayed in the town of Iwama, and rode my bike around, trained, did a lot of weapons. I still have really wonderful, fond memories of what's called the jinja, which is where we practiced weapons every morning, and that's where the Aiki shrine is. Wonderful practices there every morning.
Well, that's really great. Well, now that was around the time. Were you training with any other well-known students that are here now?
Let's see. My friend Larry Bardak was there the first time I went. A bunch of German people who I believe still train, Mark and Ute. I don't remember their last name. They were uchideshi the same time as I, that first time. I'm pretty sure they have a dojo in Germany. And then I have so many friends who have also been uchideshi for Saito Sensei, including Miles Kessler, who is going to be doing the summit.
Yeah.
Is putting together that's such a beautiful thing that he's doing. Really exciting.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And Larry at the time, Larry Bardak, who's also still trains and teaches in San Luis Obispo, was living in his own little apartment. He wasn't an uchideshi during that first time I was uchideshi. And we've remained friends. It's amazing how many Aikidoists have stayed friends over, 40, 45 years, even a lot of people 50 years. It's just beautiful how long we stay with this art, because it's such a deep art, and there's no end to learning.
Yeah, it sounds like that's because you had a deep commitment there in the beginning. I mean, even to now, yeah. I
always feel really fortunate that I fell in love with Aikido and not soccer or karate. Not that there's anything wrong with either of those things. I just feel, just like I was just saying, I just feel like Aikido, there's no end to the growth and learning we can do on and off the mat.
You've also been influenced by other modern instructors, including Satomi and Ikeda Sensei. Can you talk about how they and other teachers have influenced your Aikido?
Yeah. I would actually say that more than any other sensei out there right now, Duran Sensei has influenced me hugely. I started going to the summer camps that were originally in San Rafael. Every summer for a week we would go to the Dominican college. And just heard a little sound. Are you still there?
Yeah, it's still here. That's just my Facebook making noises.
Okay, good. We would go every year to the Dominican College in Marin County and get dorm rooms and eat there and sleep there and do Aikido all day. And so I met Duran Sensei I think I met him when I was 12, but I went to my first week-long summer camp when I was 13, and I just love the way he teaches, but also the way he moves. So smooth. And he has a way of teaching the principles that just extremely clear and concise. And I wanted to get to train with him more often. I got to train with him a number of times every year, but I live in Berkeley, and his dojo's in Redwood City, and it's about an hour's drive. So I couldn't drive yet, but I did go to the summer camp every year as a teenager and young adult, and it was really influenced me in a beautiful way. And then Hiroshi Ikeda Sensei started to teach at the camps as well, after I had been going maybe 5 years, 6 years, somewhere in the 80s, Ikeda Sensei started to teach there, and his practice has changed dramatically. It's always been beautiful,
Yeah.
And his teaching is lovely, but he's, he used to make big movements and sweeping large movements. I still remember learning how to turn so that my knees would come together. I don't know how to describe it, so a person listening can understand what I'm talking about. But the hips would go all the way in one direction, all the way until the knees would come together.
Oh, wow.
I wish I could describe that.
Yeah.
And now his movement is tiny, and he's working really hard to help us all understand what he's doing. I think a lot of it is the ability to align our body with our partner's body and affect their structure immediately. As soon as there's a touch, the uke is affected. A lot of, I think, when he first starts a class, we often see our partner's tailbone, image the tailbone, so we can take the structure from the grab from our own wrist through our partner's arm into their center and then into their tailbone, and finally taking balance or finding kazushi. But I feel really fortunate to have been influenced by so many great instructors. I also got to start training with Robert Nadoshi-han when I was young, same time as Frank Duran Sensei or Shihan. They actually were the founders of the Aiki Summer Retreat when we used to train in San Rafael. I think it probably started in the 70s. I started training there in San Rafael, I think, in 1977. And I bet they started it a number of years before that. Wonderful experience.
Yeah. No, it's great to hear about all the different teachers you've pulled from. I hope that any student in Aikido would continue to learn from a wide variety of teachers and kind of make it their own Aikido. You've been doing this. Yeah. You've been doing this for many years. You've led seminars in different countries. Talk a bit about what it's like going from a student to now chief instructor and owner of a dojo. So that's quite a transition there. So give us a story of what it's like as an instructor and what it's like getting to that point.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that as an instructor, a quote instructor, I'm still a student, always.
Yeah.
And the moment I think the moment any of us decide we're only instructors and no longer students, we're missing something really important in the training.
True.
Because it's called training because we're always growing and training. There's always room for huge amounts of room for improvement. Maybe improvement isn't the right word, just growth and depth. Just last summer, I trained with Ano Sensei and Mary Heine Sensei at the Santa Cruz Summer Retreat and Linda Holiday Sensei. And just, it's just amazing how much
Were you there last year?
I can continue. Yes, I was.
Oh, I was there.
Yeah, I heard. I think I saw that you had been there. Somehow, maybe you told me, or somehow I knew you were there last year.
Well, I've learned a lot since then. Anyway,
just being able to see that someone like Ano Sensei, who's 85, he's still learning and growing and appreciating the depth of Aikido. But let me see if I can answer your question more clearly. I think last time you interviewed me, we talked a little bit about, the fact that I started a dojo at 17, which is kind of, I don't know if that could happen now, because in 1980, I remember I started out in a little city called Benicia.
Yeah.
And nobody knew what Aikido was. Not even in Berkeley, people would say, "What's Aikido?" when I would tell them that this is something that I practiced. And now, O Sensei's dream has come true. People all over the world know what Aikido is, and it's one of the main martial arts. It's it's amazing how fast it's become known, and so I'm so grateful for that, because its message is more important than ever, right? Finding a way to reconcile and become one family. That was his dream. And it, you know, there's a huge Aikido family around the world. And I just really hope that it continues to grow the way it has in the past 40 years. But so I became a sensei pretty young. And thank God I had the clarity to know that, whoa, I better keep being a student as well. So I still feel like a student, even though I run a dojo, and I love running the dojo. I'm grateful every single day for the gift of being able to be a dojo cho and run a dojo and make my living that way.
Yeah.
I teach kids classes and adults classes, and they're really different, and I enjoy both tremendously.
You are, of course, the owner and cho at Aikido of Berkeley. How did you end up there? What's the story of the dojo there, and how did you end up leading that place?
Well, I started the dojo in Benicia, and I had that dojo for 12 years, and I had been traveling to Europe to teach and to Israel, and then I got another invitation to go to Europe to teach, and I really felt strongly that I wanted to go to college, and but I also, eventually hoped to have a dojo in my hometown, which is Berkeley, and I was born and raised in Berkeley, but I didn't feel like it was appropriate to be close to my original sensei. That was Bruce Klickstein.
Right.
And then he stopped teaching, and so I closed the dojo in Benicia, and my students there, a few of them actually moved to Berkeley and really wanted me to start teaching here in Berkeley. So I just waited for the right time and place, and I was invited into a karate school with one of my former students in Benicia. She also studied Kung Nu karate, and begged me, would you please come and, use our space and teach Aikido here. And that just seemed like, okay, that's the right time and place. And it was far enough away from the Oakland Dojo, the Aikido Institute.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was a good time to do that. So I really only didn't have a dojo for, I think it was 2 months. I went to Europe again, and as soon as I came back, I opened Aikido of Berkeley. That was right on the border of Oakland and Berkeley, and I was there for about 5 years, and then I moved to a huge dojo. I opened this enormous space in Richmond, but always with the idea in mind that I would come back to Berkeley. And the reason I took this space in Richmond was it was really hard to find anything in Berkeley that I could zone for martial arts at that time. A weird time in the zoning process here. So I was in Richmond for a number of years, and I also got to have an Uchideshi program there, which was wonderful. I had an Uchideshi program in Benicia, and then again in Richmond. Not in the first dojo in Berkeley, I did not have an Uchideshi program. The space was small, and the owners couldn't let me do that. But it really makes a dojo a warm and inviting place to have people who live there. But also for the sensei, for me, it's wonderful because I've got students who are really serious about their practice. So when someone commits to being an Uchideshi, they basically, decide that they're going to make Aikido a priority in their lives for a certain amount of time. Mm-hmm. And so my current dojo, I have, at one point I actually had 6 Uchideshi there. Right now I have 4.
Wow.
And it's wonderful. It's really it's a learning process for me and for my students.
No, that really is amazing. It's been said that your teaching style supports the individual growth of each student. Explain what that means.
Yeah, so I think we talked a little bit about that last time, sort of touched on it. As everybody knows, we all have different learning styles.
Sure. Yeah. Different bodies.
Some people, yeah, different body types, different history, and our different histories. And we come to Aikido at different ages too, chronologically. So kids learn different from young adults, from middle-aged people and older people. We all learn differently. But maybe more specifically, there are people who learn really well from, hearing some things, reading, being thrown a lot. I think what I mean by saying I support the individual's way of learning is just acknowledging that we all learn really differently, and I'm open to that. For instance, I have 3 students right now who don't take any ukemi. The uke means to receive, so the uke is the person who's taking falls or attacking or grabbing.
Right.
And I have 3 students at the moment who don't take any ukemi, so they're learning by, of course, they grab and they strike, and they receive the throw, but they don't go all the way down to the mat.
Is that for physical reasons or because they're just starting out? Okay.
Yeah, so I have actually one student who suffered a concussion doing karate. She got kicked, so she isn't able to take ukemi because she gets pretty bad migraines when she falls. And another student also suffered an injury at another Aikido school, and if she takes ukemi, she gets really dizzy, and it's just not good for her.
Okay.
And then a third student who's older, who's 80, and doesn't take any ukemi. So, I'm sorry, correction, not 80, 75. I don't know why I said 80. So it's just not, it doesn't work for her to fall. And so I'm really committed to, dedicated to helping anybody who wants to do Aikido come in and do Aikido.
That's good, just meeting people where they are at their skill level and what they're able to do, so they're able to do this certain amount of Aikido, and you accommodate for them. That's good.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, we've been talking a lot about teaching, which is, I like this theme. So talk to the dedicated, say, Q student who is serious about training. What are some good ways to improve, say, our Aikido, or rather, what are some of the ways to practice efficiently in order to increase in skill for those students that are really serious about it?
Well, I recommend that any person who wants to learn any art form come to a class at least twice a week, at the very least. Yeah. And that's, in this busy time, it's hard to do, but sort of choose 2 times a week when no matter what, unless you're really sick or you've got to attend to other things in life, those are your times to come and train. So that would be maybe number 1, is to commit to coming 2, 3, 4 times a week. And, of course, if a dojo offers that many classes, including morning classes, morning and evening classes, that makes that a lot easier.
Yeah.
And to remember that Aikido is not just a physical art, that it is physical. That's where it starts, right? But it's also in the mind and in the spirit. So when a person decides they want to do Aikido, of course there's, like I said, it's a huge physical component, and the physical training is where we begin. But there are other ways that we're improving ourselves, not just in physical form. And as most Aikidoka know, most of us aren't doing Aikido because we want to become really, wonderful at self-defense. We're doing it because there's something else in the training and in the and what the founder was after with this deep art form. It's not just a self-defense. includes the spirit. It includes the ability to learn how to stay present and connect with other people, connect with your own self. So for anybody, but maybe especially for someone just starting at a Q level, just decide, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it this many times a week, and I'm just going to go no matter what. And also, of course, do your best to find a teacher who you click with, who you feel you can trust and learn from, and who's gone ahead of you in, a number of ways of life, not just Aikido, but perhaps a teacher who meditates or practices meditation and yoga and other forms to grow physically, but also spiritually, emotionally. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I just always want to hear what people have to say, and that you did good. Now, a lot of people view Aikido, at least I'm talking about outsiders, as a very exotic, kind of different martial art. And you've kind of explained your views of Aikido, so that's good. Coming up on the telesummit that's coming up, I know one of the topics that's going to be discussed is Aikido a martial art? I mean, there's also the martial aspects of it, and then there's the spiritual aspects of it, and kind of the philosophy and everything. And of course, if everybody did Aikido, nobody would have to do it, right? So that's right. So is Aikido martial art? Kind of give us a little preview, kind of the discussion we made here at this telesummit.
Well, this is just my own opinion.
Of course.
Yes, it comes from, it comes from martial. Its roots are martial art, and so much of the etiquette that we practice, bowing, the kind of way we see ourselves as training as a warrior. And in other words, we're I suppose you could look at a martial art as self-defense, right?
Sure.
In English, it may translate as a self-defense. But I think also the word martial can refer to a warrior path. And the warrior path goes somewhat deeper than just the physical manifestation, but moves into the idea that I'm not just learning how to get out of the way, redirect, protect myself, but I'm also growing my own spirit and my own ability to understand life and what it is to be human on this planet right now. So I just a short answer, yes, I believe it is definitely a martial art, and it comes from jiu-jitsu, Aikido jiu-jitsu, and that is definitely a martial art.
For sure.
So that's my opinion. Yes, it's a martial art, and it also encompasses so much more than that.
Oh, it's very good.
And I would imagine that anybody who studies any of the martial arts feels that way, that there's a depth to their practice, and they may feel that they're not just getting a physical way of defending themselves, but also the commitment and the dedication to something. It almost feels to me like anytime we dedicate ourselves to learning an art form, we make it huge and we enliven it, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. That kind of gives us a little preview of some of the discussion that might pop up at the Aikido at the Leading Edge seminar. You'll be participating in that somewhere in between May 12th through 21st, so you'll be participating in any of that. Have we gotten any info on how you'll be participating as to or what you'll be talking about yet, or do we not know that yet?
Not yet. I'm excited to be invited and really looking forward to it, and looking forward to listening in on some of the other instructors too. I think it's going to be fantastic, and if nothing else, it connects so many people who've been doing Aikido for such a long time, and it connects us in a beautiful way. We're not getting to train with each other physically, but we're getting to talk about some really important aspects of Aikido. And that's a really good question. Is Aikido a martial art? because, I just taught a seminar in Utah, and there was a student who came who's been doing Aikido for a long time, and he really kept what's the words? In a certain way, he was trying to show me that Aikido's not a martial art. He was trying to show me that the techniques don't work.
Right.
And I kept saying, well, you know what? They don't always work physically. There's other stuff going on. And of course, when somebody grabs you or strikes and freezes and will not allow you to move, there's so much that can be done at that point. And I was actually just thinking about that today, that, we can put a hand in their center of their face. We can throw up an atemi, which means, a punch to the face, or a hand to the body or to the groin, and that's going to make them move, and then we can get them moving again. And Aikido is so much about an attack that comes in. If it's an attack, if someone is attacking, to keep that in motion and to take that motion and redirect it. And if we stop it, if we stop our energy, then they can probably shut us down, and then we need to get it going, get it moving again. But just to sum that answer up, I was really thoughtful after this seminar, because this one guy, he was very big and strong, and he's been training a long time, maybe as long as I have. He's a 6th Dan.
Really? So he was
just kept shutting me down, and I thought, well, this is great practice for me. And he kept sort of saying, well, this isn't really a martial art, or it's not really working. And I had to think about, well, what do I do when that happens,
Yeah.
And of course, there are moments where you could just kick someone or punch them when they're trying to shut you down that way, and it's over. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see if there was some way to get him moving, and therefore end our connection in a peaceful way.
Right. No, that's really interesting.
So, very short answer, yes, I do feel that Aikido is a martial art, and I also believe that it's really deep, and there's so much more than just the physical movement happening.
Yeah, I'm sure this will be an interesting discussion at the Telesummit. It's something that we can explore for a long time, and maybe we can come to different conclusions. It should be interesting. Only one of the small topics that will be discussed there. I know you're in the interest of time. You were able to be with me for half an hour here, so I won't keep you for too much longer. For those of you in Northern California, Kayla Fader Sensei will be teaching a seminar coming up on May 20th, 2017 in Stockton, California at New School Aikido there in Stockton. That's where I train. We're excited to have you join us there. So if you want to train with...
So am I.
Yeah. If you want to train with Kayla Fader Sensei, come on down on May 20th. We're excited to have you out there.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of fun that day. I'm looking forward to it, and all 4 of my Uchideshi will be coming, and a bunch of other students as well.
Oh, that's going to be lots of fun. I look forward to it. Once again, Kayla Fader will be leading a full-day seminar at New School Aikido in Stockton, California on May 20th. Find info for that on the New School Aikido Facebook page. Also watch for Kayla Fader at the Aikido at the Leading Edge free online telesummit May 12th to 21st. In the description of this video, you'll find a link where you can register to watch that for free, and also you'll be able to participate in some of the discussions. So go ahead and register for that. Kayla Fader, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day to talk with me. I know you only had a few minutes, but we did good.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me onto the show, Edgar.
No, it should be lots
and
of
for
fun.
Inviting me up to your dojo.
Yeah,
I'm so looking forward to it.
That's going to be a blast. I know a lot of the students are looking forward to it. Are you going to Santa Cruz this year?
I think so, yes. I may only be able to go for the short part, just because I can't leave my own dojo too long. But I'm planning to go for the weekend section of the Santa Cruz retreat. Yeah, it should be wonderful to have Anno Sensei again this year, and I think Mary Heine and Linda Holliday as well. Wonderful, wonderful teachers.
Right, and that's going to be July 12th through the 16th. I just booked my rooms, and we're get all registered for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. I look forward to it. Thanks for taking time out to talk with me today, Kayla.
My pleasure.